Hello, Drake Hawkins, Musically Optimistic here, and today I am counting down the top 15 worst albums of 2022. Now, this has been a pretty dang good year for music, so it's not like there was a lot of albums that were awful. In fact, the first two albums on this list are 4 out of 10s. I think they're okay. It's just that they lean a little bit more to being bad than good. And since I don't really want to waste any more time with this intro, let's just get right into it with number 15, Machine Gun Kelly's Mainstream Sellout. Tickets to My Downfall is kind of a guilty pleasure, with there being some catchy hooks and some decent production here and there. Mainstream Sellout doesn't really have as many redeeming factors. A lot of the melodies here are awful, the features aren't as good, the choruses aren't as catchy, the production isn't as good at all, and this record comes off as a lot more bitter given how poorly the last record was received. So this record is just even worse for it. And if you didn't like Tickets, chances are you're not gonna like this. At number 14 is kind of a hot take, Hidden Renaissance, Neapolis. It's not downright awful, it's just a very derivative record. When you have this many rappers and producers coming together on one project, it's going to be very hard to make it cohesive, and that is the main issue with this record. A lot of the beats sound the same, a lot of the flows sound the same, a lot of the rappers sound the same. There's just not a whole lot on this record that differentiates it from anything else, so I don't feel like there's anything here worth checking out. At number 13, I have the Jack Harlow record, Come Home, The Kids Miss You. God, I heard a lot of bad things going into this record, but listening to it, it's not as bad as everyone says. It's still pretty fucking bad. Like, Jack Harlow's bars are corny as shit, the choruses are bad, the beats are awful. Like, the beat on Movie Star, Pharrell didn't even try. There's no way Pharrell tried with this whack-ass beat. And I know Pharrell's singing has never been good, but it seems like it reaches a new low on this track that has never been heard before with his very squeaky falsetto. Jack Harlow just comes off as one of the least charismatic Drake ripoffs to come out in the last 5 years. So, at number 12, I have Big Crit's Digital Roses Don't Die. This is a record that I actually enjoyed earlier in the year. I actually gave it like an 8 out of 10, but coming back to it later in the year, it's awful. The vocal harmonies on this thing are terrible. The production is bland and half the time just so bare bones and skeletal that there's not a whole lot here. Now, the tracks that I did enjoy on first listen, I still mostly enjoy. Like, So Cool, I think, is decent enough. The first real track after the fire interlude is kind of cool, but once it gets to track 3 on this album, all hope goes out the window, and you're just stuck in a torture chamber of really poor writing, really bad singing, and just corny ass bars. Like, what was I thinking with this one? At number 11, an album that I was actually looking forward to, Roddy Ricch, Live Life Fast. Given Roddy's last release, please excuse me for being antisocial, there was no reason for me to not expect something great with this project. Even with the intro track Life setting it up to be this grand, theatrical, massive experience, it instantly goes downhill the second Thailand comes on. Flew my bitch out from Thailand. The melodies are just not as thought out on this record. His voice is so strained. The features aren't as good. The beats seem so lifeless and drab. That doesn't mean there are no good points on this record, because there certainly are. It's just that the bad points vastly weigh out the good on here. And I haven't listened to Roddy's new project that came out this year, Feed the Streets 3, but I've seen similar reviews. It seems like the reviews seem to be better, but I doubt it's... what happened, Roddy? At number 10, Cowboys record, Black Heart, which I actually found out was an EP not long before I made this video, but I still didn't like it much. This is like 8 tracks of hearing what was at one point a promising upcoming talent just imitate YoungBoy's style to a very, very grating point. Like, YoungBoy's rapping style is already a style and a sound that I'm not really particularly fond of. And hearing someone very poorly rip it off for what feels like 2 hours is not good at all. The Joey Badass feature on the last track kind of slaps, but other than that, there's not a whole lot holding this record together and making me ever want to come back to it. Number 9, Vory, Lost Souls. I was actually looking forward to this record because before Donda, I had no clue who the fuck Vory was, but Vory provided such good vocals on Donda. On tracks like Earwolf and God Breathed, his vocals were just so ethereal and so misty and just had this nice, very nice timbre to them that was just so inviting and pleasant on the ears. So I went to go listen to Lost Souls, and by God, this is one of the most boring records I have heard all year. Like, I think there was maybe 1 or 2 tracks I got from this 20-something track album. He could be doing something so much better with his very godlike vocals, but it seems like he's not even fucking trying on this album, and it's very disappointing. Out of all the records on this list, this is probably the most disappointing, because given his performance on Donda, I expected something, but what this final product is unbearable. At number 8, I have Drake's Honestly Nevermind. What can I say about this album that hasn't already been said? The mixing is shit. People like the track Jimmy Cooks. I think it's whatever. It's just a normal 21 Savage track with Drake trying to hop on it. I think Sticky fucking slaps, and that one track that is "Your pussy's calling my name," that track I think slaps, but other than that, this record is unbearable, and I could not get through it more than twice. At number 7, an album that I reviewed on this channel, Mr. Cyberluck's Funkadelics. Friend of the channel, Mr. Cyberluck, comes onto this album and provides a few tracks of his own take of drift funk, a subgenre that I haven't been too fond of since I've heard of it, and this album I think doesn't do it too great. There are a couple catchy choruses on here, but for the most part, the mixing is dog shit, and a couple of bars are cringe as fuck, but if you're coming to Mr. Cyberluck, you're not coming for the most deep thing ever. You're coming to just have some brainless fun, and really, that's kind of what you'll get on Funkadelics. So, honestly, bad, but maybe give it a listen. Number 6, another album I reviewed on the channel, Scuba Diver, Godspeed 2. I got a lot of shit on my review for giving this album a bad score, and honestly, coming back to the record, I still don't like it one bit. Like, I don't know what it is about someone ripping off Kanye West's sound for, like, an hour or something. I don't remember how long it is. I know it's like 10 tracks. I don't know what it is about that. It's just not interesting to me. So I feel like I can confidently shit on this record. I'm not saying Scuba Diver has to stop making music. I'm just saying cut off all the dicks in my life like a vasectomy is still one of the most cringiest bars I have ever heard. And there are spots on this record that have potential, but they are cut off very, very quickly by trash-ass, whack-ass bars like that. And shit like that, along with underproduced tracks, makes this record be one of the most unbearable of the year for me. Next up on the list at number 5, we have Overpaid's Age of Aquarius. Yeah, I don't like this record one bit. It's kind of that TikTok sped up trend where it just sounds like you take very underwritten music, pitch up the vocals, and there you go. The beats are just way too minimal for me. This album feels just rushed in a way. And to top it all off, the outro just tries to give this big grand finish that the album just does not deserve up to that point. At number 4, we have a potential hot take, Gunna DS Forever. Yeah, this album sucks. I don't know what to say. It's one of the most boring albums I have ever listened to in my life. I genuinely cannot remember a single melody from it. I can't remember a single feature. I'm sure Lil Baby was on the record. Those two work together a lot. Yeah, this is one of those records that just goes in one ear and out the other. It's completely just nothing redeeming about it. Not that I don't like mindless music, because if you watch my top 15 albums of the year, which will come out once the year's actually over and I get through what I have to listen to, you'll see that there is an actual autotune trap album pretty high on the list. But this is not one of those autotune trap albums that I love. This album is just boring. Number 3, Young Expert, Welcome to Estrella. I don't think Young Expert has nothing redeeming about him. I just feel like this album is just... The mixing on the vocals is horrible. A lot of the production is horrible. There's some cringe bars. A lot of the structuring on this album I have problems with. I really don't remember why I gave this such a low score. But whenever I come back to it, it's not like I find a whole lot redeeming about it. It's just kind of a very empty and numb experience that you don't get a whole lot from when you listen to. No disrespect to Young Expert. I like his grind. I like what he's doing with his music and everything. I just wish he made better music. Here we are, the bottom of the list. We have 2 albums at the bottom of the list, which both are 0 out of 10s to me. The 2 worst albums I've ever heard in my life. This is at number 2, we have Yeat with 2 Alive. Now this I will probably get fucking crucified for, but I hate Yeat. I think his style is very derivative, very boring, very unoriginal, very grating. I think his lyricism is non-existent. Not that you have to be deep or anything, but his bars are trash. His flows are trash. The way that the autotune does not mesh with his voice in the slightest is trash. The intro track on this album, Poppin', I like how it suddenly starts off this record and it gets a decent groove going. I like the chorus a little bit, but the beat is a little annoying, but I can look past it on this one track. But from track 2 onwards, this is a hell of a torture fest, and I have not been able to get through the rest of the record in one sitting since the first time I've listened to this thing. It is one of the most painful, boring listening experiences I have ever had in my life. Like, Poppin' is the only somewhat okay track on here. I would still turn it off if it came on if someone was playing it around me, but like anything else on this record is god-awful. Almost all the beats sound the same. Almost all the flows sound the same. Almost everything sounds the fucking same here. It's like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. But what's even worse about that is our number 1 spot on this list. Kenton Carson, X. There are literally 4 tracks on this album that sound the exact same. Like Freestyle 1 and 2 literally sound like they copy-pasted the exact same beat over and just did the exact same thing. And then you have the track New and Gems, which are, again, sequentially right by each other, and they sound like the exact same fucking beat. And then he goes over them doing the exact same fucking thing. Now, just copy-pasting isn't the worst thing in the world. It's very bad. But what's also very bad is his vocals are just so fucking loud in the mix, and the autotune does not work with them at all. I think if he just took the autotune off, it'd be fine. I love autotune, but for some people's voices, it just does not fucking work. I've heard that the extended version of this album fixes some issues, and there are actually some good tracks in the extended version, but if I hated this album this much, I wouldn't want to listen to the extended version. This album is god-awful, one of the worst things I've ever listened to in my life. In fact, I'd probably say the worst album I've listened to this far. And yeah, I don't know what the fuck to say to summarize this experience. This album literally gave me a fucking headache. Like, it is bad. It's bad. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna end it there. That was my top 15 worst albums of 2022. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.